Hello and welcome to the Talking Toll podcast. I'm your host Teddy,
My name's Hayden.
and today we're going to be watching, not watching, we'll be reviewing the tmnt 2012 episode from Season 1, Episode 13, I Monster. So, yeah. And just before we do quickly get into this one, there's a few things. Okay, so the first one is if you don't want to get into the podcast, you can leave a little message on Anchor, either a text one or a voice message. You can leave a comment on this video that you're watching or in the Spotify comments, or you can leave it on the community post or the Reddit post that I put up on there. So yeah, if you don't want to get on chat, if you don't want to get on the podcast either as a guest or as your comment or opinion, then that's the way they can do it. But quick before we do get into it, and I've not told you about this, Hayden, but we got our first message on Anchor, and this is coming
Yes!
from. It's only taken us 13 or 12 episodes, and this one was from on the episode Never Say X Ever from David Bacon, and he puts, "I love the way the tmnt boys save Mr. Murakami, and Leonardo shows mercy and humanity. Leonardo has love and compassion." So yeah, I don't disagree with it.
Nice.
I still agree with some bits, but yeah. Okay, so yeah, what do you think about this episode briefly?
Well, this episode, I actually thoroughly enjoyed watching this. Don't get me wrong, I love watching the other episodes, but this episode, I know I say this every time, but these episodes are getting better and better. But this one, oh my god, it kind of really was an enjoyable episode to watch because it was something new, something absolutely different. And okay, some parts were a bit kind of creepy in this one, like really creepy. A creepy episode, but a really good one to watch nonetheless. Like it's really good. Like that's all I can say because I don't want to. I don't want to get into it now because we got so many other things to get into. But all I could say is this episode is just really good. Like it's got to be up in my top 10. I know I say this every time, but it is. It's just one of the top 10 in my top 10 right now. But really, really good, hands down.
Hmm. Yeah, okay. I feel like this might be like the first time, but like for once, I'll disagree and say that like it's not one of the best episodes. I'll say it's one of the more weaker episodes for a few different reasons. But it definitely did have its really outstanding moments within the episodes near the end. But there were quite a few bits within the episode which I probably will expand on upon as we go on. That I don't know, for some reason make it felt a bit weaker for me. Okay, so for the beginning part of the episode, we have Dr. Victor Valco, and he's back, and he's experimenting on rats' mutagen. But when a rat eats away a wire, that's when things go wrong, and he gets sort of mutated into the Rat King. Yeah, what do you think about this little scene here?
This scene. Well, this scene, I was shocked to see Dr. Falco back so soon. Like, I thought we weren't going to see him for quite a while, but he's back, which was really awesome to see. And of course, well, I was quite surprised that he still had a bit of mutagen left. I thought the turtles destroyed it, but no, he somehow saved a spare piece of mutagen lying around. And of course, the rats, of course, were chewing away at the wires, and it was just one of that. It's like the Frankenstein sort of scene. Like if anyone's seen the Frankenstein
Yeah.
movie, where he's like making it's alive, that sort of scene, you know. But
Oh yeah.
that's what it felt like for me. But I really enjoyed that, and of course when Dr. Falco got the electrical wire on him, and then of course the mutagen exploded. I'm like, geez. And then of course it was fire, and it just went from 0 to 100 real quick, and it was just I just had to process what just happened. But then of course the rats run away, he's on fire, everything's just going to hell, and then of course he somehow gets his powers back. Like he's psychopathic, no, psychopathic, not, well, he is a psychopath, but his
Telekinesis, I think.
mental and telekinesis, that's the word. I forgot what it was. It's like psychedelic, psycho. It's like psychopath. It's like, yeah, that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's there. But
It's all the same.
Yeah, it's all the same really, but when he got his powers back, that was a really big shock for me. And then of course the rats stopped and they went back for him to save him. I don't know how they would have saved him. Like they could have jumped on him to put out the fire, but I don't really know how much they could have done to save his life, if you get what I mean. Like they're just
Yeah.
rats at the end of the day. But this
Hmm.
is just a really cool scene to watch.
Yeah, I'll just say that the focusing with him doing all the experiments, I did quite enjoy that as it was just something. I don't know if I've ever seen that sort of stuff before with like some scientists and with Donatello in past episodes, but it felt I don't know, it felt a bit different and I did quite enjoy that. And for some reason, he did feel a bit like Stockman, with him just explaining his plans about how the world has wronged him of stuff. Um, and then when after the cables go down and he calls back the rats, and then you see like a close up type thing of like a silhouette of Ratking's face, where like it was much different than the other scenes within that scene. I'm not too sure, but that scene in particular looked really nice with the animation, the
Mm.
flames, the green bars.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
agree with you on that
yeah.
one.
So yeah, after that, after the theme song, we got the Turtles taking on Splinter, but all the Turtles failed except from Leo, who's able to do a punch and hesitates after punching him. What did you think of this scene?
I thought this was quite a funny scene. Like, of course, they're in the judo with Sensei, they're Splinter and all that, and it was just really fun to see them training again. And of course, Splinter fighting them, and of course, the, the turtles just getting their shell kicked all over the place. That was funny to watch. But then, of course, Leo actually swung and punched Splinter in the face, and I was like, "Oh no!" I was literally said, "Oh no, it's not gonna go well." Leo is just gonna get absolutely pummeled to death by Splinter. But I was just like, "Oh my god!" He actually just punched his sensei, his father, just got punched in the face by his own son. I was like, I was like, oh, this isn't gonna end well. But it was really funny to watch. And of course, Leo's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Sensei, I'm so sorry. And then of course, Splinter uses that weakness, well, this compassion and weakness to overthrow Leo. And that was pretty cool to watch and see. Like, Splinter does not care. Like, literally, he is training like warriors. Like, he has no compassion when it comes to training. Like, he will just throw his sons all over the place. Doesn't matter if he gets broken ribs, bones, or anything like that. Doesn't care. And he's kind of like the dad who's like really cool at the same time. Like he's cool, but he's how can I explain this? Like he's a father who cares about and cares and love about his sons, but has different methods, like parenting methods to do it, if you get what
Yeah,
I mean. Like
yeah.
has some very strict parenting skills. It's like I'm not saying he's a bad parent, like he's raised four teenage mutant ninja turtles, but I'll say he's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'll say that this scene, I, I don't know. This is like one of the first scenes which sort of made me a bit I don't know, made me rethink my opinions on this episode. As a kid, I remember watching this and I thought, oh yeah, this is a really cool, fun scene. We got to see the turtles do a little bit, showing off their skills, and that moment when Leo punches Splinter, I'm pretty sure everyone for the first time, and even kids, I would say even more so, was like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. And I would say even after watching the episode quite a few times, I'd still say it does have that effect, even for me, but like it's not as much. But I feel like that's only because I've watched the episode a few times. Um, but some of the things which I didn't notice in here was that the turtles were not really that far away from the Splinter, so I'm pretty sure they could have Splinter could have heard their plan. And then also, the scene where he was panning around Splinter and he sort got to see like a 3D type thing, got to see where all the turtles were. For me, that felt like a really this that scene in particular really made me think that maybe this episode could be like a really early episode in production, just because it feels like this was like part of like a early 3D test type thing. I'm not too sure how if I'm explaining. Hang on, do you understand what I mean by that? Where like it feels
Yeah, I
like an
understand
early
what you're
test
trying to
screen
say. Like, wow, I never really looked at it that way before. Because this series was made. When was this series made again?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. So yeah, they probably would have been. Well, yeah, 10 years ago. You think
Um,
3D animation and technology have like come a long way, so they may have been testing
yeah,
out, which I quite like about that. Like the 3D, like I don't know why, but it reminded me of the Matrix. Knowing that scene where Neo is dodging all the bullets, that sort of scene, and it's all
yeah.
3D, that sort of stuff. That's
Mm.
what I quite enjoy about that. But yeah, that's right. I never really thought about that before. That's really interesting.
Yeah. I think this is like one of the first like big TV shows to use 3D fully. Now they get like every show is basically or it means either
Mm.
2D or 3D, where like 3D sort of become the norm now. But like back then, this is like a really big deal, and I would say that this scene in particular, and there was one near the end, when after they save the day, and then Donny, Raph, and Mikey pop out from a corner, and they're doing like a little dance type thing. That also felt like another scene that it felt like it was like from a very early test screen type thing that they put into this episode. I'm not saying that it's bad. You can just tell the difference between them animating and them like testing things out. And when you go halfway through the first season, it does feel a bit weird and a bit lacking in certain areas. Um, but yeah. Now, the next bit, which is also another thing, which is I'm going to go on a little rant about, but I've got Rat King, who got to see him for the first time. He explains his motives and gets the rats to go out onto the streets and cause chaos. So, the two questions here: what did you think of this scene, and also, what do you think of Rat King?
One, the first question to that would be, oh my gosh, I was a bit like I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit spooked. Like if I was like a child watching this, I would be terrified. Like now that I'm a bit older, I was like, I like the thriller stuff and all of that. But if I was a child and I saw that, I would be, I'd just be plain scared. To be honest, I would just be like, that is terrifying. Like the figure, he looks like a skeleton. Like he's so frail and just so bony, and he looks like, to be honest, I thought he looks like something like a plague doctor, which is pretty cool. But he's
Yeah,
awesome. Like I love the Rat King. The Rat King is just he's a new character that we're seeing, and of course I love how his motives. Like he's seeing the world in a different light. Like the Stratton, he was like downgraded and his people laughed upon him, but now he is exactly the same. And of course now he sees the a whole world, like 8 million parasites. That's the quote that really got me the most. Is like he refers to New York as parasitic and parasites, and I just loved it
yeah,
because he's like it's it's cleansing. Like he's going to cleanse this city of all the filth and the bacteria and the parasites, which are all the New Yorkers. And it was just really hard hitting, which I really liked. And of course, the other answer to that question is he is just crazy. Honestly, I think that we're going to be seeing him a lot more often. Like especially now he's got his mind and telekinesis back. He's controlling the rats, and he's going to be a formidable character within this series, and I cannot wait to see them fight again. Honestly, this is going to be one of those characters that are going to stick around for a long time. I can see it now.
yeah. Okay, well, there's quite a bit of. I'd say I'll disagree with you, like, all, like friendly and all that. I mean, I like his design. I feel it's definitely the most unique compared to the other versions of Rat King, and I do feel as though the Rat King's like motives definitely changed a bit too quick for my liking. Just from going from wanting to do studies about I think it's about the brain and all that. And now for now seeing the rats for now seeing the world through the rat's eyes to wanting to take over the world and kill everyone and then stop the turtles. It felt I don't know, it felt out of character for his one in a way where I feel like his motives were changed a bit too quickly but just because he only fought Turtles once, so they're not going to be that much of a big deal. So why do you want to kill them? And then with the rats thing, it just felt as though he he just saw the light and all that like way too quickly. But I would say his design looks really cool. But the one
Mm.
thing which I want to point out for like a first appearance type thing, which sort of like has really, I'll say, is a bit weird in a way, for this character, as he's supposed to be this monster type character, but I would say he has elements of the monster, but they don't really expand upon it, and I would really like to just go over the other few versions of the first appearance of the character and show you like how they done it and interesting way compared to this one. So in the RDW or the most recent comics, he's a god, and in his first one, he captured Leonardo and Splinter, took away Leonardo's mouth, and then uh like gave them hallucinations about their worst fears, which that alone just give you like nightmares in a way, and shows how good and godly power he is, whilst being like a monster type thing. In the original comic where he appeared, he was just this lone homeless person that would just go around chasing kids in this abandoned like street. um, the 87
Uh,
one, it's not as bad as it sounds because we don't know what happens to the kids. That actually makes it even sound worse.
that sounds worse. Jeez.
Yeah, in the 87 one, April was doing a live broadcast, and then the lights went out, and that's when he took her. And then next shot, you see him walking as a silhouette with him walking with April on his shoulders, and he is presented as like a terrifying threat. And then the 2003 one, which may be like a really good comparison, was showing the monster side of the character. Because I'd like to read out the first quote of 2012 like Rat King in 2003 one too, and I would like to get your opinion on this, like in terms of like the monster side of the character. So for
Okay.
the 2012 one, he goes, "Through your eyes, brothers, I finally see the world for what it really is. The city is infested. 8 million parasites scrabbling around in their pointless lives, spreading disease, forcing us to live in the shadows like vermin. No more. They are the true plague. Together we shall rid the city of humanity and reclaim it for ourselves. And no one, not even those vile turtles, shall stand in our way." Now, I would say that it doesn't really present too much of the monster aspect of the character and only hinted at it throughout the episode. But in the 2003 one, which is the beginning quote of the episode, it goes, "I awoke in the mud and the slime of a filthy river. I don't know where I am or even who I am. I am haunted by glimpses, momentary fragments of life I think I had. But what life do I have now? What am I but a monster? And now all will fear me, because everything fears the monster." And then his other piece of text throughout the episode, which
Wow.
was yeah, and then like the final, and then for the final scene in the episode, he goes, "They fled by now, but I will haunt their nightmares for many days to come. I am a monster that will never escape. Everything fears me, everything except the rats." And I feel like that just goes to show how you
Wow.
can write the monster aspects of the character within the human. Just because
Oh yeah,
the 2003 one
definitely.
was able to, yeah, because 2003 one was able to, he wasn't able to see past his looks or anything like that, and so he's able to see the monster and embrace that. Whereas 2012 one knows that, like he has the looks of it and has the powers of it, and all he wants to do is just take over the city. I hope, it, I hope I'm able to
Wow.
make some sense within that.
Yeah, definitely. You can. I'm just saying that I'm not gonna lie. Even just you reading that sentence just changed the mood drastically. Like I got shivers from hearing that. That was like some like Vincent Van Gogh or some really gothic literature right there. Wow. Yeah, that is definitely a huge change in like the comics, like how he's not like he's a monster, but they don't really talk about it. And then the other comics saying he's an actual monster who's like, geez, I'm kind of speechless after hearing that. That was like, that
Yeah,
was
I mean, like
deep.
it's one of
That
those
was
things where
real
I feel
deep.
like
That was.
yeah, see, the Racking's never been properly utilized as a true villain. He's only like appeared in like 1 2 episodes here and there, and it's really annoying because he's like has so much potential to be like the next big best villain. And there is definitely some, and definitely say within this episode, there is definitely some elements that you can really expand upon in terms of the creepiness, the horror aspects, the mind stuff. There's so much which they do, but I feel like with this version of Rat King, they set him up to be the next big villain type thing, but then never really do much with him. Because I'd even say that with all his scenes as Rat King, it feels like it should be a two-part episode and feels in a way that they're rushing the story. But yeah, that's just my overall take on the whole scene. Then with the rats taking over New York, I found it a bit weird that Rat King would just come on screen and just see a close up of his face and just starts laughing. I found that to be a bit weird. Um,
That was a bit kind of weird and terrifying at the same time.
mm.
It's like, what the heck? That was like that was just crazy.
Then after that, we've got April that's been hunted down by the rats. So she decides to climb up a foam pool, calls the turtles, and the turtles rescue her during the daytime. What did you think of this scene?
This was actually a really good scene because I've never seen the turtles like in the day in broad daylight. Like this is the first time that we see the turtles in broad daylight, and it's like really really weird. I'm like, how are they not getting spotted? That's my major thing.
Oh,
That's my nitpick. That's my negative about this. How are they not being filmed nor seen? Like, this is New York, 8 million people, and you're telling me no one saw the turtles in broad daylight. Somehow the guy from episode 5 was managed to see them and film the turtles, and just, I don't understand it, but that's my negative about this thing. So, apart from that, really good. Seeing them out in broad daylight, really good. I love how Mikey just says, "Oh wow, it's beautiful out in the daytime," except the rats. That's what cracked me up. But it was just really weird because I just don't know how they didn't get spotted or caught. Like it's broad daylight. Come on, like.
oh,
But
how did April get up the phone pool?
oh my god, yeah. Jesus Christ, she must be really athletic. Like I know she's training to be a ninja, but come on, that's got to be like at
It's
least
unrealistic.
it's unrealistic. Unless she jumped from the roof to the phone pole, I just don't know how she would have got up there. That's a good
Yeah.
couple of meters high, a phone pole.
Oh, yeah. Like it was like nearly the same. It was no, it's taller than the house.
Hmm.
So yeah, I have to say about this scene for me, I felt like it was a really nice change of pace in terms of the animation. It felt as everything was much brighter and you can just see things more clearly. It felt different in a good way, and I did quite enjoy the different. I know that it was still in the same city and location, but it felt different with the animation, and I do quite enjoy that. And you had to say ask same questions about how did toes not get spotted. um but yeah, after that, Battles do go home. They see Splinter lying in the living room and try to wake him up, but Mikey's the one has to prod him. But when he does wake up, he tells Toes to go after Victor Valco, and that's when Splinter goes and has some haunted nightmares. What did you think of this scene?
Um. Yeah, that was a good. that was a good scene. But I just really quickly want to go back to the telephone pole real quick because
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, when when April was on like the telephone pole, and of course she slipped and she fell, right? Donnie
yeah,
actually, because this is actually a good thing. I'm talking about a good thing, positive thing about Donnie
about
and
time.
April. Donnie actually heroically saved her this time without being socially
Okay, and there was
awkward,
no
and I was
cringe.
like cheering in on. I know, right? No cringe. That was the major thing about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Donnie actually did a non-cringe thing. He wasn't weird about it. He did it and safe. However, towards the end though, he did say, "As long as I'm here, you're safe." That just got me off on the wrong. Like
Yeah.
that, just like Donnie, you just had it. You literally had her in your arms. It could have been a great moment for you, but you just had to say that line. Saying nothing would have been perfect. Like, you're welcome, no problem, thanks would have been fine, but you just had to go and say it. But overall,
Hmm.
Donnie is actually getting better. That's all I wanted to say about that scene. But
But yeah, what do you think? The other scenes which we were supposed to be talking about.
oh yes, of course. Sorry, I'm just going off track here. Um, the other scenes with well, of course, when the turtles get back to Splinter and all of that, and Splinter wakes up from his, excuse me, a nightmare. I'm not gonna lie, it was really like we saw a lot of Splinter, which was really good because lately we don't see much of Splinter. Well, I haven't seen much of Splinter in the episodes recently, except for last episode with Leatherhead. That was awesome, by the way.
Oh yeah,
You should
yep.
definitely go watch it. Um, it was just really, really, honestly, it was really creepy. Like the horror vibes were just there. It was just like he was getting
Hmm.
possessed by Rat King and his presence and the red presence, like the red mist, like kind of reminded me of like red blood. I know that may sound a bit
Yeah,
out of there, but it's like the real mist was like real, like misty blood, if you get what I mean. But that was cool.
yeah,
Seeing how they used the scene to create tension. That was awesome. And of course, Splinter trying to fight him off. Like his mind is his ultimate like warrior, and it was just really weird to see him how he tried fighting him. And another thing about that was really went dark. Like we had a flashback of his family and his wife and the fire that killed them, and it went really, really deep and dark really quick. And I wasn't expecting it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this really turned into like a horror. This really did turn into a full-on thriller horror, and I'm like, okay, okay, this is something new. But it was really nice to see the flashbacks come back again. But the
yeah.
flashbacks were nice to see again. That's what I really liked. Like the art style of those flashbacks, I just love them.
Hmm.
So just seeing that
I'll
again was
say,
pretty cool. But
yeah. I'll say that the Mikey pudding Splinter bit, I thought that was quite funny, but with the Flash or the Michael Trolls type thing, I thought that was just done. I felt okay. I feel like he could have done better, and that's only just saying that if this was like a two-part episode, yeah, I feel like Raccoon could have really gone into his mind and really explored his backstory and really gone into everything, really made it a bit more personal in a way. And I
that would have
felt
been
like there
good.
was like, elements that,
Definitely.
yeah, I just feel like there was like elements here for like if they were given more, or if it was given like another episode, they could have really gone into this so much better. But for what they did do, I thought was just perfect. I mean, just like preying on Splinter's like failed first family, and I did feel pretty bad for him. And then to even like prey on his like new fear, which is like his new family leaving him. Um, I mean, that's just like extremely dark. I don't know what else to say. And then also the bloodshot eyes. Again, you've already mentioned that, but that like again has like a whole other new meaning in a way, just gives like a whole new feeling to the whole scenes. But yeah, after that we got April fighting Splinter, and Batel's going away to trying to find Rat King, and then blowing up some rats. What do you think of these two scenes?
When they go find the Rat King in the sewers, like they're trying to look for it, and of course Mikey keeps going on about whether the names, like he has a real hard time accepting that he could not name a villain for once, and that was kind of funny to see because he's always naming stuff. Like last episode that we watched, it was he named Leatherhead, who came from a different dimension. It was like half man, half croc, and that was pretty cool. And of course, he names everyone like Dog Pound, and of course the other guys that he's mentioned, like the most notorious ones that he's mentioned is Dog Pound. Of course, he hasn't named Cypher yet because he hasn't seen him, but hopefully he'll get to name him eventually, which I can't wait to see. But then, of course, we then understand that he's really ticked off about it. Like, but Rat King is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. It is could have been like I agree with Mikey. It could have been a bit better. Like something
Hmm.
called the because he was talking about Rat Dracula or Exterminator
Oh
or
God.
something like that. I know. I sound like Mikey, don't I? Jeez, I'm actually agreeing with Mikey for once. Oh
Oh God.
gosh, but then of course we get to the wall of rats, which was a bit weird because it was just alive and it didn't feel right. It felt like something from a horror movie. It didn't just the wall of rats. Oh, I still get I got shivers. Like it's not good. It's like a proper horror, like something like the walls are made out of living flesh or something. It was that giving
Hmm.
off those vibes. But of course, Leo decides to have the ingenious idea of blowing the wall up whilst they're in the proximity of the detonation. And I'm like, one, how did they survive? Two, where did the barrels come from? And three, how did they know that it would combust?
Yeah, it's
That's my
unrealistic.
negatives about this. It's unrealistic for sure. Like I know they're mutants, but surely they couldn't survive a blast from that. They would at least be a couple of yards from the blast. I'm just saying. Like surely a blast of that magnitude would do some damage to them, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. However, like there is in one of the most recent Toll comics, where in like 50 years in the future, it's something like that. Mikey survived like I think it's like a 30 or 60 foot drop, and then he decided to stab himself. I think committing the Japanese suicide thing, seppuku. I think it's something like that. But yet he still survived. So this little explosion was
What?
like, hardly anything for them. Yeah,
That
yeah. The turtles can survive
that
really anything.
she survived this. Jesus Christ! Oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God! Yeah, turtles are hardcore.
in the most recent Toll movies, they're bulletproof. And then in one of the 80s comics, Rav was standing acid rain, and while his body did get destroyed, he was just standing there in bones, laughing away the pain. There was another one where Dontalu jumped out of the airplane and was paralyzed, and his whole shell was cracked open. Yeah, they can more or less
Oh
survive
my
anything, really.
gosh! Jeez. Okay, right. Well, this explosion, like talking about this explosion, is just like it was nothing. Honestly, they could just walk it off. This explosion, but
No, yeah, they're
oh
pretty
my
good.
God, they actually did that.
Yeah, there's so many other things which, like, I know that is not realistic or anything. I know that's the point, but I do feel
Oh yeah, definitely not
as though there
realistic.
should be, yeah, yeah, no, but I feel like there should be like some element of realism within it somewhere, wherever that
Hmm.
may be. Oh, what do you think of the Splinter versus April
Hmm.
fight?
Oh, that fight. I'm not gonna lie. I was a bit scared for April because she's still learning to become a female ninja, and I was kind of terrified because it looked like Splinter was actually going to kill her. Like, I was on the edge of my seat and I was trying to understand. It's like, oh my gosh, is this actually going to happen? But I'm thinking they can't kill April. April's still like a major character. It's like they can't kill her off just yet. But then, of course, Rat King summons Splinter to him, and of course, April just survives by like the skin of her hair, quite literally the skin of her hair, because he
Yeah.
manages to cut off a lock of her hair. And that was just like,
Do you
I'm not gonna lie, I was scared for April.
do you think that April will be able to survive with Rat King's control over Splinter, or do you think that April was only able to survive because Splinter was held back?
I'm not gonna lie, I think April survived because Splinter was held back. Like, I'm not gonna
Hmm.
lie, April is a strong, awesome character, but I don't think she can go up against a warrior who's had almost like 37 years of experience of the arts and
Something like that.
crafts of a ninja, something like
Yeah.
that. Like, sure, April could have escaped, but I can't say that Splinter would have killed. Like, I mean, April would have fought against Splinter. I think Splinter would have
Hmm.
actually hurt her really badly and potentially killed her.
Yeah. You have to say that this for the April scene, I thought it was really good because like, again we don't really see. I think this is actually the first time we ever got to see an April versus Splinter fight, and I thought it was like very creative. It really set the tone. Um, the only thing which I didn't understand, and I feel like you might have the same question, but where did all the fog came from? Like it was just appearing out of nowhere, then it's got really bad as April just walked into the dojo. Uh, and then
Oh
with the
yeah,
the wall, of,
yeah. Where did the fog come from?
I'm not too sure
Unless it was
really.
a burst steam pipe or something, or gas pipe, but I guess they
I
just
guess
did
we'll
it
never
for
know.
effect, right?
Yeah. Well, it worked. I mean, definitely to create
Yeah,
the mood
definitely.
for the fight. And
Mm.
then for the Turtles Fun Rat King going against the Wall of Rats, I just felt that was so not like the Turtles. You never really see the Turtles just wanting to blow up like any type of life form. And especially rats. I mean, that's one of them, or like relative to one of their fathers. And I'm just saying that's a
Yeah.
bit, yeah.
Oh my
Um,
god, that was kind of weird. Like they would attack a rat, like they were disrespecting rats despite their father being a rat.
Well, for the final scene, or one of the or second last scene, we got the turtles going up against Splinter, and then when Splinter has gone control back, he fights the Rat King. What did you think of this scene?
This scene was okay. This scene was really creepy. I found like the Rat King controlling Splinter, like someone so powerful can control Splinter. That was insane for me. Like someone had control of his mind and his power. That's terrifying. Like if someone can do that, they can take over everything. Like this is like a Donatello threat, like right now, because Donatello he can make explosives, internet. This is like it's like an Avenger level threat, but it's like a Donatello Avenger. I mean Donatello
Yeah,
threat, like it's a Donatello level threat. Like Donatello could take out the world. Like he build a nuke or a bomb that could destroy half the planet. This is what we're dealing with right now, but on a like a mental level, like on a psychedelic
yeah,
level. Like this is like a level threat that is dangerous, could potentially destroy half the planet by just thinking what he wants. And it's just like really insane. That's what scared me the most. Just not how he's like his red eyes, but how Splinter could be used to turn against the turtles. That was just really terrifying for me. It's like this is not going to work. Like the turtles are going against their father, their sensei, who taught them all the tricks in the books. And of course, Donnie says he's been going easy on us this whole time. And I'm like, oh, geez. this is not going to end well for the turtles. And I was like, really, really afraid of what was going to happen.
Mm. Oh, what do you think of the Rat King versus Splinter fight or short fight?
Yeah, that fight did not last as long as it should have. But with the Rat King and Splinter, like, of course, Splinter beat the turtles, and of course, he got back his power. And of course, Leonardo showing him his family photo, like, set things back, like reset Splinter, like he remembered who he was, his family, and his life was a really powerful scene. Like he remembered who he was and how
Yeah.
he got back his memory. And of course, then the Rat King. I'm not gonna lie, Rat King could have fought a bit better. I know he's got his mind powers. He could have used the rat to build like a army, but I'm not gonna lie. He's like it could have been better if you understand. Like he could have fought back a
Yeah.
bit better, but that's just my opinion. But overall, that was just an awesome scene to watch. Just seeing how the Rat King has control of the rats and how Splinter has a mind of like a god and can beat anyone. And it was just awesome to see that happen.
Mm. I'd say for the Turtles vs Splinter fight, I really did enjoy that. I think that the whole lighting for this whole scene, and then with the Splinter vs Rat King, was done perfectly well. As it really sets up the tone of the scene, as well as even like the location really gives off like a certain mood for the scene, and it really works really well. Um, the fight between the turtles and Splinter, I thought was really good, as it really showed off each of the turtles' moves and skills. As I don't think I've ever like truly ever really got to see. I never got to see them see turtles fight, but not in a way that really stands out or makes the turtles stand out for being unique compared to one another. So I did quite enjoy that, but I do feel as though I know that Splinter was being held back by Rat King, but I know if I'm going to watch a fight like this and I'm thinking this, I'm thinking, oh yeah, Splinter's going to go and fight them and potentially kill them. So yeah, and then the Leo showing my Splinter's picture thing, I found it a bit weird just because like, where did he have the picture? And that was a very risky if he lost the picture as well. But yeah, and then like,
Oh
what
yeah,
made me laugh
definitely.
was the con. What made me laugh was the contrast between this fight and the first fight in the 1987 TV show, because in this one it's like very deadly. Got Rat King using Splinter to properly go at the turtles, but in the 80s show you just got this guy in like a brown sweater holding a flute, just playing the flute and mind controlling Splinter to just more or less like just hit the turtles a little bit. It was like a very big difference, and I really did enjoy that quite a bit. But the Rat King versus Splinter fight, that was just a little bit of a letdown. He Splinter didn't even touch Rat King. He just pointed his fingers and went flying. uh, yeah, very weird for that little scene. Um,
Mm.
but then we do have the final scene, which Musmus takes out Leonardo by saying that he doesn't that Musmus hasn't taught Leonardo everything. I thought that was like a really good way of showing that like, Splinter will always be needed in one way or another. And yeah, what did you think of this scene?
Yeah, that was a good scene, but honestly, I agree with you that like Master Splinter is a dominant and powerful character that is always going to be around. Like he's always going to be there for the turtles. He's going to be there teaching them new stuff and new ways to fight the enemy, and it just gives off to the
Mm,
audience that he is not going anywhere. He is the main character. He will get up from every fight and keep going, like no matter what. The pure strength he has, and just seeing him continue on the fight. And of course, it was kind of funny when he decked Leonardo again. So just seeing that was quite funny. But yeah, I agree with you 100% what you've just said. That was a powerful scene to say he's sticking around and he's not going anywhere.
yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. What do you think of this episode overall?
be honest, this episode was very creepy. Like, very creepy than most other episodes. Like, Rat King is just. His face is just screaming horror. Like, the monster. Like, they definitely went overboard with his character design. Like, his face is deformed. I thought he only burnt one side of his face. I didn't realize his whole face was just dead. Like, it was unreal just to see how far they would go to portray such a
Yeah,
horrific and monstrous character in the series. And it was just, and his eyes, oh my god, his eyes just. But overall, this episode was creepy, but in a good kind of creepy. Like, it was just the right
yeah,
amount of horror, the right amount of thriller. It was just a decent and well designed, actually, I must say, well designed episode with the lighting, the effects, the overall aesthetic to this episode was done very very well, and I give my hats off to them because they did a really good episode. Because the last couple of episodes they haven't really
all bangers.
given a theme.
Mm,
Yeah, but they're all good episodes. But this episode was like really well put together, if you get what I mean. The storyboard was there,
yeah.
the effects was there, everything was just choreographed so good and so perfectly that it just portrayed what the producer was trying to get out of it, which is a good overall good episode, hands down.
Yeah, I'll say that I do really enjoy this episode. However, as I always said about my complaints with like Rat King, not really, he's like changing his motive really too quickly, and not really expanding upon the whole monster idea. I'll say that there is, but if this episode was split up into two episodes, this episode would be. I'll definitely have to say that top 10, or I mean like, or I mean, I know that it technically already is in my top 10 now, but like one of the best episodes of the series just because of how dark it can go and stuff like that. But overall, the episode was quite good. Okay, so for some comments from some other people, from Lil Sim, he said it was a great episode. Freelance Will said that his design is quite creepy and possibly disturbing for the Rat King. Near reference to Willard. Not sure what that is. Brainwash Splinter also disturbing. You in quotes. You waste your words. This is where I belong with my brothers. Respond with Mikey is emphasised by the nobody hits Mikey by but me line. And this is also the first time that that tells says to Splinter father, not dad or sensei. We had. I think it just makes some good points there.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I'd never
we
recognized
got
that, like about how they saying father and all that all the time.
I mean, just like every version of Toes is different in terms of how they address Splinter. And it's always quite fun to hear how they respect him and all that. So yeah, from Yamukan, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong. They go. I loved it. Settle a presented for other seasons. Also, it's the first time Leo says father to Splinter. We got the alarming message. 115 says, "Agree. Yes, I agree 100%. I love that scene. I love the episode when Leonardo said father to my Splinter." So, yeah, that's really it for the comments. Really, do you want to hear some trivia? Okay, so the title of this episode is named after the original Rat King appearance in the comics, where it was called Our Monster. However, this is sort of like a little reference to the film I, Robot in terms of name. And then some more interesting
Oh,
things. From the notes, we got according to Burley, which is the original episode production. No, according to Kenny Burley, the original episode production order was that the next episode was originally supposed to be for this episode, and this episode was supposed to be for the next one. However, things got changed up a little bit. Um, as the US chose to air them out of order, and then they even decided on Netflix to show them out of order. And I'm pretty sure that has not been changed, or might have been changed on the DVDs.
hmm.
Um, as as I was thought that it was next episode first, and then this one. But apparently not. This episode was originally going to be titled Rat Trap, which is the same title of another Toll comic. And the episode title, A Monster, is the same or title for Raccoon's first appearance in the comics, as well as his first appearance in the 2003 show. Okay, now for the cast. Okay, so for the cast, it is Donatello. Rob Paulson does Donatello, Leonardo done by Jason Biggs, Michelangelo by Greg Sykes, Raphael by Sean Estentine, Splinter by Hoon Lee, Victor Falco and Rat King done by Jeffrey Combs, April O'Neil by Mae Whitman, Carlos Chang O'Brien Gumby by Jim Muskman. He also does the cop, and Mr. Murakami was there, but he didn't say anything. Yeah, that's really all I thought.
Yes,
We're saying yes to.
I saw him. He was just standing there. He was. I was good. I can't believe he didn't bring that up. Like he was just standing there. It's like, poor guy. His
Oh yeah,
shop's
he was
just been
there.
overrun with rats.
I mean, he was there. I don't know how to really include him into the conversation. Like, he was there. I don't really know what else to say about it other than he was there. It's cool to have him in
Like
there.
it was good to see his face. It's good to see him again.
I think that's all that is, because we've already gone over Jeffrey Combs in terms of what he's done and everyone else. But yeah, okay. So for the episode next week, it is called New Girl in Town. What do you think is going to happen in that episode?
I have a lot of ideas. New girl in town. This can either be one or two things. One, someone's going to be a rival to April and something's going to go down. Like they're probably going to have a fight over it or an argument. That's one idea. My second idea is that the turtles are going to get a new ally, or either the turtles are going up against a new foe who potentially could be a female, and could be a new enemy or an ally to the turtles. But I think I'm gonna go with my second option. Like the new girl in town could mean a new enemy for the turtles to fight, which could be a female one. And to be honest, I don't think we've had a female one so far. Like I haven't clearly seen a female villain yet in this series, but that would be nice to see actually, a female villain in the series. So I'm thinking I'm going with my second option.
Oh, okay. I don't know if. Oh, okay. This is all putting me in a hard situation. Because one of your theories is correct. Do you want to know which one it is, or do you want to wait until next week?
I think we should leave it till next week. Build up the suspense.
Okay, well, that's all I'm going to say is that you've almost. I mean, like your theory in general about the episode is almost spot on. In all, I mean, give or take, like the whole story, but like the whole reason why the why the episode exists and all that, you were almost spot on.
Oh
So well
god, I'm
done.
gonna kick myself next week. Nice. I got another one almost correct, I guess. But that's gonna be my second one I've got almost correct. So I'll take that. I'll take that.
You know, I must admit, next week's episode is also a really big important one, just because of the things that happen after this episode, but because of the things that happen within this episode, sort of that lead on to the big best parts about the show. It's still going to be hard not to talk about those type of things. So I might be holding back in terms of some stuff, but that's all I'm gonna say. And you should be proud of yourself. You finally got something nearly correct.
I know, this
Uh,
is amazing. I gotta add my little point to my scoreboard here.
okay. Also, would you say that this episode is in your top 10?
Yeah, it's like it's not the best, but it's definitely there. He's got to be like a 8 or a 7, if you get what I mean. Like, actually, no.
Mm.
If unless we're going from the 10 being the best and 1 being like the least, like it's got to be up like 7 or 8, somewhere there.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd have it like quite low on my list. I mean, it's not to say that it's a bad episode. It's just that certain parts within this episode or in the ideas and themes, I don't think were truly explored upon that well, which for me really brings down the episode. But overall, this episode was quite good, and I wish I could put it high up on the list. But yeah, do you have anything else to say about the episode, or we just done with this episode or this episode of the podcast?
Actually, the episode. One more thing. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but know when the rats invade the city, right?
Hmm.
And then, of course, the rats go over the police car, right?
Yeah.
And the character sitting in the police car looks very, very similar to Chris Bradford's character. That's just that's my like. That's what I saw, and I'm thinking, hold on a minute. This Chris Bradford. It really did look like Chris Bradford. I know this is going on like some like crazy idea, but it really did look like Chris Bradford was a cop in that scene. I can't believe I didn't bring this up earlier, but now I'm just remembering. It's like that looked like Chris Bradford. I gotta put it in here because it looked like Chris Bradford for sure. I just didn't know if anyone else saw what I saw or whether I'm just going plain mad. But yeah, I just gotta throw it in
I
there.
could sort of see it, but no, I don't think it was Chris Pepper, but I could sort of see where it comes like without knowing who the cop is and sort of having blurring him in my mind. Yeah, I can see that, but yeah. Was that everything you had to say about this episode, or was that was that it?
To be honest, I've got nothing else to say. Overall, this episode was 1, creepy, and 2, awesome, and I really enjoyed watching this one.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's gonna be for this week's episode. Again, like we've already said, we've done to leave a comment and get on features on the podcast, either as a comment or on as a guest. The guest you can just sign a form thing in the comments below. You don't want to have your opinions and reviews on the episodes. You can leave it on the Reddit post which I put up, the comment section, no, the community tab on YouTube, the comment section of YouTube, the comment section of the Spotify thing, or wherever you listen to your podcast. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. I've been your host Teddy,
I've been Hayden,
and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye, yo, bye.
bye.